Hello friends, this is Micah from What Micah Makes. I went to Amazon and found this really cool Edison light bulb, so I had an idea. Clink! Why not build a lamp? I have this beautiful olive tree and I think this branch would make a beautiful base for a lamp. So let's gather the supplies and lessons on fun.
Let's start the project by cutting off the branch with a handsaw. Timber! We are back in the workshop. Let's see what's the booty. We've got some dried olive wood branches. We have a piece of burl, I believe it's maple. And we got this huge branch we just cut off the tree, so it's still green wood. Let's start by cutting off the piece that I would like to use for the lamp. I understand that working with fresh cut wood that has not dried yet is not necessarily recommended, but I will fully encapsulate the wood in resin, so it's kind of like an experiment. If you don't like to experiment, I recommend to use kiln-dried wood. This piece will be the piece for the lamp. Here I'm cutting off two of the sides to have one square edge to place the piece into a corner. Did I mention yet I will be making multiple lamps, not just one? Here you can see me cut the wood for the second lamp. The easiest way to cut the wood into the same sized pieces is by using the bandsaw. You could also use a miter saw, but if you use the miter saw, make sure that the pieces are straight. You do not want to get injured. And those are all the pieces for the second lamp. And here are all the contenders again. We have the fresh cut olive wood, we got the maple burl, and we got the dried olive wood. On the freshly cut wood, I like to take the bark off. Use a chisel to loosen the bark up lightly and then peel off the rest. And now it's time to sand it all down. We are just rough sanding. The last piece was just not so much fun. The next step is to cut the boxes to build the forms out of. I'm using MDF, however you can use any wood because I will be covering it in tuck tape. To cut the MDF, I'm using my table saw. The side pieces I'm cutting with the miter saw. And this will be the last piece. To assemble the boxes, I'm using drywall screws. Make sure you keep the boxes square and you pre-drill the hole. Then insert the screw. Assemble all the sides of the boxes. Do not attach the bottom yet. I will be covering all the inside walls with tuck tape, so it's easier if you wait with the bottom. Make sure the boxes are clean. Stick the tuck tape to all of the inside walls. Once all the inside is covered with tuck tape, attach the bottom. And just to make sure that nothing leaks, do one more round of tuck tape around the bottom. And this is the moment when you notice you made the box a little bit too tight. Nothing a little bit of sanding can fix.
We're in my craft studio, and since I can never make decisions, I actually decided to make 4 different lamps. The first one will be built out of cement. The second one will be built out of the olive wood that I have collected out of the backyard. It is still green wood, so it has not been dried yet. The third lamp will be made out of wood from my backyard as well. It's the same tree. I had cut this wood last year and cut it into little pieces. And the fourth lamp will be built out of a burl wood. I purchased this burl wood at a craft store. I believe it's maple, but I'm not 100% sure. Let the resin mixing begin.
First step, let's put on some gloves. Like always, when working with resin, work in a well-ventilated area or use a respirator. I'm using total wood resin. This resin has a 1:1 ratio. And now, it's time for the resin dance! This looks perfect. Now let's pour the resin into the forms. The burl wood still had little debris attached to it. Therefore, I will pour a thin coat of resin on it first, let it dry a bit, and then pour the rest. Like this, you can avoid having little particles swim in the resin. Also, depending on the resin you are using, do not pour it too thick, otherwise it will overheat when it dries. You might have to do multiple pours. For the dried olive wood, I went with a transparent brown tone. And of course I don't have enough resin, let's mix some more. For the fresh cut olive wood, I went with a green color.
Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion, just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat, tested by the motion, loving this devotion.
The last lamp will be built out of cement. This lamp will be the easiest build because all you really have to do is mix the cement, pour it, let it dry, and it's done. There is no sanding involved. I've made a previous video about a simple cement mixture I'm using. I'll link the video in the right hand corner and in the description below. Really get in there and make sure the cement is properly mixed. It's gonna give you some muscles. For the colors, I have decided to go with mainly white but with some gray in it. This is the consistency you wanna go for. I'm using a popsicle stick to swirl in the colors. It's kind of like baking a marble cake. Once all the cement is in the form, vibrate the form to get out all the air pockets. Use a popsicle stick to scrape the top flat. On purpose, I've left the cement mixture a little bit thicker. That will mean that I will have some air pockets in the end. However, it gives it more of an industrial, rustic look. It's 2 days later now and it's time to demold. Let's take him into the workshop. Once you have all the screws removed, you might have to use a chisel and a hammer just to help the box separate from the resin. Just be very gentle. Do the same with the other boxes. I'm wet sanding the concrete lamp with 1000 grit sandpaper just to knock off any particles and smoothen sharp corners. To clean up all the excess resin, I'm using my miter saw. You could also use a bandsaw, but my bandsaw will not accommodate the height of the lamps. I have my dust extractor turned on, but you should probably use a dust mask. Cutting resin is a very messy job. And this is to all the viewers that keep leaving comments that my workshop isn't dirty enough. I think it will suffice. I've noticed a big gap from an air bubble in my lamp. To fill in the hole, I'm using Total Boat UV Cure, which dries within minutes with a blacklight. Just fill the hole in with the resin and point the blacklight at it. To cut the holes for the lamp sockets, I'm using a 1.5 inch Forstner bit. This will make the perfect size hole. And this is the first time I've noticed that my drill press, aka flexor, is not powerful enough. It took me quite some time to drill out the holes. I almost feel like I was making a fire. I was about to take out some s'mores. For the long lamp, I've decided to use my bandsaw to cut off a thin layer of the wood from the bottom. This will be used to cover the holes, since the lamp has 2 big holes drilled from the bottom, since I will include a toggle switch. This will make it much more pleasant to look at. One hole will be drilled all the way through, the other one you stop about 1 centimeter before you're all the way through. Then you flip over the piece and you just drill a small hole on the top. I've used my Makita handheld router to chamfer the corners. Use your drill bit to drill a hole where the electrical cord will go through. Drive at everything to make sure it fits. Once everything fits, it's time to sand. Sand all the way up to 600 grit. Once you are done with the 600 grit, wet sand up to 3000. This is the bottom plate that will cover up the holes. I pre-drilled to make sure the screws don't crack the wood. I used some clamps just to keep it in place. Countersink the holes for the screws. Now it's time for the wiring. On the left you can see the lamp socket, on the right it's a toggle switch. This is the only lamp I'm using a toggle switch for. For the other ones I'm just doing an inline switch. To connect the wires, I solder them together. If you've never soldered before, you could use simple wire caps. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with. Also, I'm using lead-free solder wire. To cover the exposed wires, I'm using shrink tube. Like always, for the finish, I'm using Mousse Magousse wood butter. Rub in the wood butter and then come back to buff. To attach the cover plate, I'm using little black screws. Now, the last thing to do is to insert the light bulb. And wir fertig! Tequila had to come to approve of the build. I think she likes it. And what do you think? Which lamp do you like best? Number 1? Number 2? Number 3? Or number 4? Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. See you next time. Tschüss!